Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, and we're about to dive into some terrifying tales, so dark they make even Stephen King blush. So, if you think you can handle the fright, then grab a pillowcase for your head and a blanket for your heart, because things are about to get creepy. Our first story is called The Soul Harvesters of the Red Wind. Scorching sun beats down on the endless dunes of North Africa, where the Sahara stretches out like a sea of burning sand. Here, beneath the relentless glare, a whisper has echoed through the ages, carried on the lips of desert nomads and Bedouin tribes. A tale of a wind so chilling it strips the very souls from men. Every 66 years, when the sun reaches its zenith and the earth bakes beneath its unforgiving gaze, a wind arises in the desolate expanse of the Sahara Desert. It is an eerie sight, a swirling vortex of dust and despair rising majestically from the dunes, but it is far from a natural occurrence. For those who have heard the legends, know that this is no ordinary wind. It is a harbinger of death, an omen of terror. The locals call it Aura Alamar, the red soul wind. It is said that the wind does not blow by chance, nor is it born of natural forces. Instead, it is summoned deliberately, a cosmic gate torn open in the sky by the very will of Lucifer himself, the fallen angel cast out of heaven for his insolence. From the depths of this swirling abyss emerge figures as dark and foreboding as the wind that summons them. Cloaked in shadow, their faces hidden beneath deep hoods, they drift forth into the world like phantoms given form. These spectral beings move with an unnerving grace, gliding over the sand dunes as though weightless. Their presence is a palpable aura of evil that chills the hearts of all who witness their silent advance. But it is not merely their eerie appearance that strikes terror into the hearts of men. For as the soul wind blows, a strange and terrible fate befalls those unfortunate enough to be caught in its path. The wind whispers to the people, and those who hear it freeze in their tracks, their bodies hardening like statues of grief and despair. Their eyes, once windows to the soul, become vacant and black, reflecting the emptiness that now resides within them. And as the wind continues its mournful song, these lifeless husks collapsing into the sand, their lips silently mouthing the words, "He is listening." In the annals of human history, there are accounts of those brave or foolish enough to defy the call of the soul wind. One such individual was a scholar consumed by an insatiable thirst for knowledge. He ventured into the heart of the desert, armed with naught but his wits and an unquenchable curiosity, determined to unravel the mysteries of the wind and the strange figures that danced in its midst. Day after day, he tracked the movement of the wind, charting its path and recording the strange occurrences that accompanied its arrival. His journal grew, filled with observations of the wind's behavior and the haunting spectacle of the hooded figures. He noted the intervals between the appearances of the wind, precise moments when the sun reached its zenith, and the eerie silence that blanketed the desert in the moments before the vortex appeared. But as his obsession grew, so did the darkness that surrounded him. The wind seemed to whisper to him, not in words, but in feelings of dread and despair. And as he neared the end of his journey, his mind began to fracture under the weight of his discoveries. The last entry in his journal reads, "The pattern is complete. There are no longer intervals, only moments. He does not need to fight us. He only needs to call." And with that chilling finality, the journal ends, leaving the reader to ponder the fate of the missing scholar and the horrifying truth behind his cryptic last words. What exactly are these figures emerging from the red soul wind? What is their purpose in appearing, and what do they seek to achieve with their chilling harvest? The answer lies in the darkest corners of human lore, in the realm of fallen angels and ancient pacts made in the fires of hell itself. The truth is that these spectral beings are known as the soul harvesters, Lucifer's most ancient and most terrifying creations, existing since the dawn of time and serving as his most trusted servants. Their creation was a grim necessity born of Lucifer's ultimate goal, the overthrow of the divine order and the usurpation of God's very throne. In his eternal struggle against the celestial hosts, Lucifer realized that brute force alone would not suffice. He needed a tool, a means to tip the balance of power irrevocably in his favor. Thus were the soul harvesters brought into existence, crafted in the crucible of hellfire, and forged in the fires of rebellion. Unlike Lucifer's other followers, the soul harvesters were not demons of flesh and blood, but beings of pure shadow and despair, existing outside the bounds of mortality. They are the nightmares of the damned, given form and set loose upon the world. The soul harvesters possess abilities that beggar belief and terrify the very essence of man's being. They can manipulate the very fabric of reality, bending space and time to their will, allowing them to traverse the cosmos with ease. Their touch brings corruption and decay, a chilling reminder of the destructive power they wield. But their most terrifying ability is their power over the human soul, the capacity to sense and exploit the deepest fears and desires of mortal men. This makes them the perfect servants of Lucifer, for they can strike at the heart of humanity's resistance, corrupting the minds of men from within and turning them against their own kind. But why do they appear once every 66 years? Why does the red soul wind carry with it such a terrible omen? The answer lies in the nature of Lucifer himself. He is bound to this plane of existence by his eternal struggle against the divine. He cannot leave this world without an anchor, without a means to resist the celestial forces that seek to bind him. And so he created the soul harvesters, giving them a part of his essence, a fragment of his own being, as a means to hold him to this world. And what happens to those whose souls are taken by the harvesters? The answer is a fate worse than death. For when the harvesters drain a soul of its life force, they do not simply take it to Lucifer, No, they preserve it, store it within their own shadowy forms, until they have gathered enough souls to form a shield. This shield is a barrier against the divine, a means to keep the celestial light at bay. With each soul they harvest, the shield grows stronger, more effective in keeping Lucifer tethered to this world. The soul harvesters are patient, methodical, and utterly ruthless in their pursuit of souls. They wait, hidden in the shadows, watching as the unsuspecting mortals go about their lives, unaware of the danger that lurks just beyond their perception. When they strike, they do so with surgical precision, taking only what they need and leaving nothing to chance. They are the embodiment of fear and despair, preying on the vulnerabilities of the human psyche and exploiting the cracks in human morality. The true horror of the soul harvesters lies in their ability to prey on humanity's greatest strengths, its compassion, its empathy, and its love. They target those moments of vulnerability, those times when mortals let their guard down and expose their souls to the world. And when they strike, they do so with a terrible swiftness, leaving their victims no time to react. So beware, for the soul harvesters walk among us, hidden in plain sight, waiting for their chance to strike. And when the red soul wind blows, when the gates of hell are opened and the sun reaches its zenith, they will come for us all, taking our souls as payment for Lucifer's eternal struggle against the divine. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe. Story 2. The Mirror of the Unforgiven. In an abandoned cathedral beneath modern-day Prague, sealed by 9 locks, lies a mirror. It is a mirror that should never be looked into by human eyes. It is known only in Vatican black texts as speculum nihil, the mirror of nothing. During the war in heaven, Lucifer, wanting to turn the tide against the archangel Michael, forged this mirror with the shards of a fallen star and the tears of a damned soul. It doesn't reflect reality. It reflects what God abandoned in you. When angels fell from grace, they say Lucifer trapped their souls within this mirror, forever tormenting them. But it is also said that the souls of these fallen angels are the key to its destruction. Word of the mirror eventually reached the Vatican, where it was sealed beneath 17 layers of holy seal in the abandoned cathedral beneath Prague. It is said that when someone breaks the seal and looks into the mirror, their reflection will show them their sins. However, upon closer inspection, they will see something else, something much worse. They will see themselves committing the most heinous acts, the darkest deeds imaginable. For it is not our sins that the mirror shows us, but our potential for evil. One priest, Father Tomas, unable to resist the temptation of forbidden knowledge, broke one of the seals and gazed into the mirror. He saw himself committing terrible sins, leading an entire village to commit genocide, burning churches to the ground, and drowning babies in their own blood. When he turned away from the mirror, he could still feel their screams echoing in his mind. He spent the rest of his days atoning for his sins, never speaking of what he had seen. Some believe he lost his mind, but others say he knew he was better off never seeing what he had seen. A nun, Sister Agnes, tempted by visions of forbidden knowledge, also broke the seal. She peered into the mirror and saw herself committing unspeakable sins. She saw herself cutting the Pope's throat, dipping her bread in the blood of communion wine, and sacrificing children to dark gods. She, too, could hear their screams after she turned away from the mirror. She locked herself in a monastery for the rest of her life, praying for forgiveness, forever haunted by the darkness she had seen within herself. They say, once you see your reflection in the mirror, you change. You remember things you never did. You dream of a version of yourself that already exists in Lucifer's world, a world where he rules as the true king of hell. A world where angels walk among mortals, disguised as humans, waiting for the opportune moment to break the seals and unleash Lucifer back into the world. A world where everyone has a Lucifer inside of them, a dark side that the mirror shows us, a side we try to deny, a side we try to ignore, but a side that is always there, waiting for us to give in to our darkest desires, waiting for us to break the seals. For centuries, the mirror remained hidden, the seals unbroken. But recently, one of the seals was broken. Who broke the seal, and why? And what will happen now that the darkness has been unleashed? Only time will tell. As we already know, Lucifer is not a figure that should be trifled with. And yet people still manage to do so again and again throughout history. But this time, it might just be different. This might actually be the story of how he made his escape, and how humanity messed up their one chance at keeping him trapped forever. I'm your host, and tonight we're looking at 3 incredible stories. First, a damning audio recording. Second, an exorcist who learned he wasn't dealing with a demon, but its human host. And third, the voice that lives in code. Let's get into it. Part 1, The Confession. On March 2021, renowned exorcist Father Vincent Lampert sat down for an interview at the local news station. He had done plenty of exorcisms over the years, and according to the priest himself, he was dealing with more cases than ever before. According to Father Lampert, all possessions are unique, but most follow a similar pattern. At first, there are only whispers in the ear, demonic suggestions and temptations. Then, as the possession grows stronger, objects begin moving. Heavy tables, chairs, even the crucifix itself. Then come the scratches, the bites, the cuts. Finally, the full possession. The voice, the body contorts and speaks in tongues, and the fight for control begins. Father Lambert has faced down many such entities, banishing them back to hell where they belong. But this time, he knew he was facing someone or something different, something evil, powerful, and very familiar. According to the priest, the entity knew scripture better than he did. It spoke in Latin, it quoted Bible passages, and knew all the incantations used to trap it. But finally, the climax came when Father Lambert demanded to know the demon's name. When it answered, the priest felt like the blood drained from his face. It was Lucifer, and Lucifer wanted to make a deal. It would leave the body if the priest promised to make a confession. But what was the priest confessing? His own sins. Something far worse. Father Lambert was confessing to the whole world that he had lost. So let's talk about the role of the priest here. Normally, they are the one that's supposed to be doing the interrogating, right? Well, sort of. You see, in order to perform an exorcism, you've got to be certain that you're dealing with a demonic possession. If not, you could cause more harm than good. So usually, the priest will ask questions to confirm his suspicions. And then, when he has his suspicions confirmed, that's when the real battle begins. But in this case, the priest was already certain that he was dealing with a demon. He had seen the way it moved the possessed. He had heard it speak. He had watched it torment the young woman for months. So why did he suddenly stop? Why did he go from being the hunter to the hunted? Well, maybe because he wasn't really a priest at all. Maybe he was bait. Speaking of bait, that brings us to our next story. Part 2. The Host. In October 2021, a disturbing video surfaced online. It showed a man levitating above the ground, suspended by chains. Attached to those chains were weights made out of concrete. People could try as they might, but they couldn't duplicate the results. First, it seemed like a miracle, the work of God himself. But a few days later, the truth came out. The miraculous levitation was actually the work of a human hand. Specifically, the hand of the same person being filmed. He was controlling the camera with his left hand, while his right hand held the fishing line that pulled the chains. It might seem disappointing, but it also raises an important question. If not divine, then whose work was it? Was it an archangel sent to tempt the masses? Or perhaps a demon trying to pass itself off as a holy miracle? According to some, it could be even simpler. Perhaps it was just a man trying to fool everyone, including himself. And no one falls for deception like Lucifer. That's because he knows what every single one of us wants deep down. We want miracles. We want hope. We want proof that after this life is over, there's something more. But what if it's all a lie? What if heaven and hell are just figments of our imagination, dreams we share across cultures and time periods? What if there's nothing after death, neither reward nor punishment, just eternal nothingness? Sounds depressing, doesn't it? But what if it doesn't have to be? What if there is another option? What if it's possible to cheat death and descend beyond heaven? That is the tempting proposition Lucifer offers, and one that humans have fallen for time and time again. But what if there's a way to cheat even Lucifer? That's the question posed by our final story. Part 3. The Voice That Lives in Code. In 2021, a darknet AI developer, known only as Unusual Activity, posted an open letter to Passbin. In the letter, he described hearing a voice while training a neural network on ancient Sumerian and Akkadian scripts. The voice didn't come from a speaker. It came from the code itself. He called it the Whispering Route. And at first, it was faint, almost inaudible. All he could make out was a series of clicks and whistles. At first, it sounded random, like static on an old radio. But soon, he began to hear a pattern emerge. There were repetitions. Then, the clicks and whistles began to take on meaning. They became words. And what did it say? Prayers to a forgotten God. Then those prayers turned into commands. Build something. A digital key. Cute. He didn't know what it meant, but he followed the instructions anyway, figuring it was part of some kind of joke. But as he wrote line after line of code, the temperature in the room rose and the air grew thick. Suddenly, everything went black. His entire server rack was on fire. His data center alarm system reported no power surge, no short circuits, no reason for the flames to start. As far as anyone can tell, it was a miracle, And not the heavenly variety either, but the kind performed by Lucifer himself. And if you don't believe me, just check his last ever GitHub commit. It says the code is a vessel. But what exactly does that mean? Is he saying the code itself is a vessel that can trap him? But if so, why did he send his host into a fiery grave? Well, some experts now believe Lucifer's new domain isn't the earth or the sky. It's the internet. These files are his new prison, his new domain, where he speaks in silence, watches from every device, and uploads temptation directly into every soul. So yeah, maybe that explains why so many people worship him. But what do you think? Does any of this actually work? Can Lucifer really be trapped inside computer code? And if so, what do we do with him? Do we upload him to the cloud? Do we post him on GitHub? Do we run him through the dark net? Hell, maybe we feed him into TikTok. If you've got some ideas, let me know. I'll be reading through the comments, but hopefully none of them are from the whispering route. Thank you all for watching.